If you can, please turn on your videos. Would love to see your beautiful faces in our final session, which is really exciting. Today we have Shashank, who's going to be running the topic overview. But before we begin, I'm actually going to do the part 2 of our TPM facilitator module. Again, I kind of gave the iOS group a hard time for the facilitator. I was like, my group was so interactive. People were answering questions. They had such good ideas. iOS, it was like crickets and pulling teeth. So I'm hoping we can continue that vibrant level of conversation we had last week. I really appreciated it. And I hope we all learned something from it. So I'm going to share my screen. I will start by summarizing some of the stuff we talked about last week, and I'm combining the things that iOS discussed as well. Afterwards, we're going to go into doing a little bit of lesson planning. So I need you guys to get creative, and we're going to imagine, like, how would the ideal first session look like? Just ideas. It's nothing to commit to. It's nothing that you're necessarily going to have to do. And this is not even the template you need to use. But I wanted to give you guys something to give you some structure and helping you think about how to plan like the first lesson or the first session. So part 2, and please feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have questions. After we do the second module, Shashank will do the topic overview. We'll go back into breakout rooms. We'll all come back to a final debrief, and then I have a couple reminders for you guys. So I'm glad I made an agenda for myself because sometimes I forget. But did anyone have any questions with homework or anything that they wanted to share, or any issues they want to bring up?
Well, for the assignment, I didn't get an IP address to actually do it, but I got one later on.
Yeah, same. I got it like last night after the assignment was due.
So we're going to give everyone until the 30th of December to finish. So I spoke to Charlie about it, and it's totally our fault. I'm sorry about that. We forgot to set up the IPs. They should have been set up last Friday. So we'll give you guys extra time to finish that, and we know we're coming up to holiday season. If you're smart, you'll probably do it before you go off on your holidays, but if you would like to procrastinate, I'm kidding. You can just try to get it in before the 30th. Sorry about that. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, cool. So let us begin. Some of the things we talked about last week were we went through what are the differences between professors and TPMs, and some of the key differences I teased out here. I'm not going to read this all. I'm going to share this with everyone. I put the slides in the chat. You guys can follow if you'd like, but you can kind of go over this with your fellow TPMs if you want to read this on your own. But some of the stuff I really liked were how we talked about great TPMs and professors both encourage cross-pollination of ideas. They show genuine interest in their students' learning, and they create great learning environments. I think that's really important, is that we are able to, sorry, one second. What? We need permission. I specifically, oh. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Okay, it should be fixed. You should be able to see it now. I thought I was all slick getting it ready ahead of time.
For me now.
You got it?
Yep.
Cool. But otherwise, you can just follow on my screen. I'll paste it. So are there any comments on this? Does anyone want to just share what maybe stood out to them in this conversation? If not, we can move on. Cool. So after we did that brainstorming, we broke everyone up into breakout rooms, and the iOS TPMs did the exact same thing as you guys did. And I just consolidated all of the feedback together, and I try to whittle it down to some of the common themes that kept coming up. So what I saw over and over again were people talking about the difference between intrinsic and transitory motivation. because something that makes a really great facilitator is if you can motivate your participants to get excited about the content, get excited about the experience. So then we talked about like, what are those things we can pull on to try to motivate students? So desire to use knowledge to grow oneself, having small wins, understanding real world applications, this desire to be excellent in something or to master something, and then ultimately helping others. So that feeling of giving back, I think, is really powerful, which is why you guys are all here, because you want to pay it forward and help others move forward. And then things that are more transitory, but I mean, they still work for shorter periods of time, grades, GPA, resume stuff. So we talked about strategies. How can we do some of these things? Connecting the topics that you're learning with real world stuff, bringing in trending news, building personal relationship. I really like this one. People were giving ideas for how to kind of take ownership of your own classroom. People said bringing corny jokes, which I'm a big fan of those. Videos, stories, maybe playing background music when students are doing the labs, so it's not like awkwardly quiet, and kind of like walking around the room and making sure that your presence is kind of felt. I'm just gonna blow through these really quickly, guys. And so I sat down with Nathan from CodePath, and we went through and talked about what are the main things we really want you guys to walk away with. There's like literally pages and pages and pages online of resources if you guys are interested in what makes a phenomenal instructor. I can share all those resources with you, but I didn't want to kind of give you like a fire hose worth of information right now. We're gonna spoon feed it a little bit so that we can try something, experiment with it, and come back with feedback. So I want us to be a bit scientific in our method, and everyone will have different things that work for them. Some of the things that really we emphasize to do is gather feedback. So literally, if you guys come back to us and you say, this lab sucked, I didn't think this thing was valuable, or the students just simply don't understand this concept, like we've definitely cut labs in the past. We have changed activities, we've added supplementary material. So any kind of feedback you get, whether it's formal or informal, you can share it with us, and we'll work with the curriculum team to structure the content differently if needed. We talked about how important it is to plan. You should always plan in advance. You will tell the difference. And I don't know if later maybe people can share stories of how the session goes if you do plan it and don't. Having strong classroom presence, building real friendships, and priming students. So telling people what they're going to do before they do it is really powerful. Some of the don'ts: don't be afraid of awkward silences. We've talked plenty about that. Don't rush in and out of class. Don't start a class unprepared. Don't assume students always know what's going on. I've heard stories where the TPM just is like, oh yeah, everyone's going to do the labs now. And then you go around and you ask the students, like, what are you doing now? And they're like, we don't know. It's not anyone's fault. It's just kind of things go unsaid and you just assume. So try to not assume and try to over explain and overemphasize. And let's not turn class time into quiet study time. If people can just sit and do the labs on their own at home, then what's the point of coming to class? So our job, or I guess your jobs, is to make the class time as valuable as possible. Are there any questions or? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, my video doesn't work, so I'm audio only today. But I found that that's completely the case. If you have an environment where people are just kind of sitting there on their computers, they may struggle on something and turn their attention to something else, and it becomes real easy to lose control of having everyone on the same page. But if you're like making sure that you're answering questions and following up with people to see if they understand, kind of taking breaks, at least that's what I've done in the past, is like you'll do a segment and then give it 5-6 minutes to just go around and just make sure everyone is on the same page as you, and make sure because you'll find people that have problems like, oh, I try this and this is what I'm getting. And so if you take that time to just make sure everyone's on the same page, it's way better than just presenting and then hoping they all get it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Daniel, what university are you TPMing for?
Utah Valley.
Awesome. Any other thoughts or experiences people have had, or as Natasha called them, war stories? So everyone agrees with these, is what I'm going to assume.
Everyone agrees with me silently.
Awesome. I can't see your faces. I'm hoping people are like nodding and smiling. So we are going to do some planning, and this is kind of supposed to be fun. I am going to break you up into pairs or triplets, and ideally I'm going to pair you with the TPM that you're actually going to be working with, so I'll try to do university by university. But don't go to this link yet. I want to walk you through it real quick, and then I'll break people up. I can see a bunch of people already here. You guys are so fast. So each template has their own university name. The only one I think that's pretty much alone, well, I guess Utah Valley and Veterans Program are both single TPM, so I'll probably put you guys together. But this is the idea. You put your university name, you're planning the first session. I put 60 minutes as like an ideal session time. And this is a template you can use. You don't have to use. There's a link here for some fun icebreakers. You would put like, what is the main topic you want to cover that lesson? What is the homework for that session? And then kind of miscellaneous tasks, like make sure this week we're going to do the survey, or make sure this week to get people's preferences on pizza, like whatever it is, it's a way for you to remember to make sure that you know what's going on. And then this is just, it just counts down, it subtracts it from the 60 minutes, so it'll add up the time blocks that you set up. But for example, the way I set up the TPM trainings is we do like 10 minutes of a debrief or icebreaker, we do a 10-minute topic overview, then we'll do 30-minute labs, breakout session, maybe another 30-minute labs, for example. So what I want you guys to do is try to think about how you would structure the best possible first session. Keeping in mind that some of the objectives are like really build some community with the students, have them get to know each other. If you don't even want to cover lesson material on the first week, that's totally fine. It's up to you. This is your classroom. You guys kind of own it. I put an example of an icebreaker that I love to use in person. This is super fun. You guys can read it if you'd like. You can pick your own. But how would you structure it? Would you start with an icebreaker or a game? Would you have students present lessons? Would you put them into breakout groups? So you can change the headings of each of these. Maybe this is breakout groups. This is like a debrief, et cetera, et cetera. And then you put a description of the activity you want to do or the topic overview. If you'd like, you can put why you're doing the activity. The why is pretty important because I think you all know this, but I hate doing things if I don't know why I'm doing them. I don't like doing things just for the sake of doing them because I feel like it's kind of a waste of my time. So I like knowing why something is being imposed on me or being asked of me, and it also helps me connect the activity I'm doing to the broader learning. So you can even tell students at the end, like, okay, the reason we did this activity is because this, and this. The reason we do this topic is because in the real world, blah, blah, blah. And then if you want, like, who's going to run that session, especially if you have multiple TPMs, and then what materials you're going to need for that session. What are your general reactions to this? Any just knee-jerk reactions from people?
Yeah, I think it's good. That way you could plan out before you start your class and everything, get everything ready.
Does anyone have experience lesson planning here? Has anyone done something like this before?
So we do stuff like this at our university. We have a cybersecurity club that we prepare lessons for, and we present every couple weeks. And the more time you have to prepare, the better. I think, for us, when we work on presenting, we make sure that we start out by explaining the concepts, and kind of everyone, kind of knows that we're talking about concepts first, for like the first 10 or 15 minutes. And then we go in and we kind of do a lab walkthrough, which is, I think, what we would do here is we just kind of start and walk through the first lab and make sure everyone can do the lab. That usually works really well for us because it helps keep everyone on the same page and make sure that everyone's getting it done.
Very cool. Great. So I'm going to break you guys up into groups. I will be kind of flipping through the tabs as you guys go through. We're going to give everyone about 15 minutes to actually write out your lesson plan. Each tab looks exactly the same. Just go into the tab for your university. There's iOS was also in here. So just kind of ignore their stuff. Focus on cybersecurity. And the idea is that we can share these with each other. So we can take ideas from each other. This is supposed to be a fluid exercise, but I do want you to try to do your own first. So let me make breakout rooms. One second, I need to get the participant list. So can you guys give me 2 minutes to just make these breakout rooms real quick? Meanwhile, if anyone would like to share some of their classroom experiences on things that went well, maybe from their last, because some of you guys are current cybersecurity students, or things that didn't go well, please feel free.
I know something that we've had a problem with in the past has been with just the equipment. Make sure that like you're testing the equipment you're going to use to do some of this stuff before you do it. If you're planning on using like a university computer, make sure that you have access to the right subnets so you can get packet capturing working and things like that. Because we've had problems in the past where we assume if it works on your laptop, it'll work on the computer, and oftentimes it just doesn't. So make sure you test the equipment ahead of time.
I had a question in regards to like updating the material in regards to like what to follow. Is that something that we have access to, or you guys do that?
Sorry, materials to follow, what do you mean?
Like the fact that it says like wdistillery.dev versus wdistillery.local. Can we change that? Because I know that might be a problem going into the classroom and everybody's trying to work through the material.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually can't answer that question because I don't know. But do you mind just sending me an email with that, and I'll forward it to our tech team, or you can put it on the discussion system also.
Okay.
Thanks, George. Okay, so it looks like, I'm just trying to bring you guys up. We have a lot of CCNY TPM, so that's going to be a big group. UVA's alone, so I'm going to pair you with, or do you guys mind if I take someone out of CCNY and pair them with University of Virginia?
So I'm the UVA TPM and the other TPM isn't on, but I also, I'm on the road, so I don't have my computer, so I can't actually like work on it right now.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'll put you someone who has a computer and maybe they can type and you guys can just talk about the different sections. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so I will put, who should I pull out from CCI? Okay, Santiago, I'm gonna put you with. Okay, I got the rooms. Cool. So I'm gonna open the rooms. I'll give you guys about 15 minutes, and I'll just be popping in and making comments on the Excel sheet. See you guys soon. What did you guys think of the quote sharing activity we did? Was it awkward?
It was a valiant effort.
It felt awkward just reading it on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit awkward, but I mean, I guess we have to get used to the awkwardness at least because we're the ones, presenting the stuff. But yeah.
So let me tell you something about facilitation. I've ran many workshops, and I'm sure if anyone who's taught anything, like teachers, professors, assistants, whatever, you probably know this, but awkwardness is actually so good when you're facilitating in breaking the ice. But you have to call it out. If it's awkward and you let the awkwardness just sit there, it's terrible. But when you have a good facilitator, and it's hard to do it online. This is why, like, I think in person will be different. But what I love about the My Rose, My Thorn activity is it makes people so uncomfortable. And you got to really feed off of that, because that feeling of discomfort, the reason you're feeling uncomfortable is because you're being vulnerable. And the way you connect with people is by being vulnerable. So if you want your students to connect with each other and really you want like a vibrant classroom where you ask a question and a bunch of hands go up, or people actually come to you, like if you really want that experience, you're gonna have to do the awkward stuff and you're gonna have to pretend like you like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that activity, My Rose, My Thorn, is actually really powerful. It's used in so many leadership workshops because it makes people really reflect on themselves and share sometimes their deepest insecurities. Sometimes they'll be silly, and you should encourage all of it. All of it's good. But just the fact that people are sharing something about themselves, something that they don't normally do. So if you guys come up with any cool ones and they work, let us know. If they don't work, let us know, and we can all help each other tweak activities. Anyway, I can see some people are laughing, so I know people know what I'm talking about. All right, so thank you for doing the activity. Thank you for bearing with my forcing you guys to be awkward and stuff. Let's go to the final slide of the PowerPoint. So just reminders, please take the survey. It's really important that we hear from you guys, how we can improve, how the survey is rated, because every time we do the TPM training, we want to get better and better. Especially let me know if you want to help us actually improve the TPM training. We are looking for interns to help us build out this training. We're going to do 100-person training this summer. We have like tons of students coming in for the fall and the spring, and I do need some backup. So if this is something that kind of interests you and you want to learn more, hit me up later. The other thing is fill out the organizer dashboard. So if you follow this link, you will see I just realized I'm not sharing am I sharing my screen?
Nope, just your face.
Just my face. That's not so bad either, right? So this organizer dashboard takes you here. This is the checklist. It is so important that you guys get this stuff in, because if this stuff is wrong in the organizer dashboard, all your students are going to be getting wrong emails, because a lot of our emails are automated and they pull tags from this data. So basically you have to go into the organizer dashboard. It tells you exactly how to do it, update the classroom, update the time you're going to meet, configure location sessions, which dates are you guys meeting. You can put in the type. You want to make sure it's either a lecture or lab if it's separate. You want to delete a session if you guys aren't meeting that week, for example, so students know, and so they don't get marked absent. Because every time you miss a course besides your first one, you're going to actually lose something called karma points. We have a whole new system for how we're managing absences and late submissions. But that is all in the course policies. So you can look this up later when you have time. Please review them, because it's really important that you know exactly how we're going to be grading students. But this is the syllabus that explains exactly how everything works. So the description, prerequisites, how we're weighting each of the labs, assignments, final exam. And we have this thing called CodePath Karma. If you guys are ever on Reddit, you're going to be familiar with this concept of like karma, but yeah, we kind of ripped off that because we thought it was cute. So each student gets 20% of their grade counts as CodePath Karma. You lose points if you miss class. You lose points if you submit an assignment late. So we're not actually going to dock points off of your assignment. Like you could do amazing, get 100% in the course and not go to any classes. The best you can do is an 80%, for example. So all that's in here, just have a look at it. Let us know if you have any questions. And then last thing is mark your calendars. January 6th at 1 p.m. we're going to meet to kick off the semester. It's a Saturday. We'll do the same thing on Zoom. I'll send out some calendar invites. I will be in Dubai at the time, so I don't know what time it's going to be there. Yeah, we'll meet. We'll do final session planning, one more run through of the third part of the facilitator training, and we'll wish everyone the best of luck. Any questions before we head into the topic overview?
Nope.
Cool. So where is Shashank? Shashank.
Yo, how's it going?
Man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Do you have a quote you'd like to share?
Sure. I can share a quote.
Amazing.
So this is a quote by Picasso. I don't really like his art, but I like the quote. Action is the foundational key to all success. My dad introduced me to this quote when I was a kid, and he would always use it around me and be like, you have to work hard to get whatever you want and to succeed, basically. And he'd say, or I guess success also depends on like your definition. So when I was a kid, success meant something different. For me right now, success means like getting a good internship or a job at a good company, which I guess is true for most college students. But yeah, that was my quote.
That's cool.
Cool.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, take it away. It's all you.
All right. I'll share my screen. There was no presentation, so I made like a short one. How do you share? There. Can you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So last week, let's do this. Okay, so far we've been so far up till now we've been doing application security, which is different from what we're going to be doing this week. This week we're going to be looking at network security, which is completely different from application security. So application security involves web design, learning how to secure your web design, common vulnerabilities in web design, and how to exploit them. And if you know how to exploit them, you can build systems to mitigate the risks. Network security involves low-level stuff like intercepting network protocols and intercepting the packets that are being sent over a network, firewalls, and much more. There is a lot more that goes under network security, but for this week, we're going to be looking at packets, firewalls, network protocols. And all of this is completely different from what we've been doing so far. Next, we're also, so the software that you need to download for this week is Wireshark. This is used to intercept network traffic and get all the packets coming in. The packets are color-coded depending on what information they hold. You have to use this application because there's the command line. You can't do it through command line. It's a data-intensive task for the command line, and it comes with the Kali ISO. But it's also suggested you have it on your host OS, like Windows 10 or Mac OS, whatever you use. So some of the definitions that would be good, I think these are the useful ones, but if you have any to add, please add them later. Some of them are packets. Packet is like a small unit of data that is carried over a network using some sort of protocol. Usually the protocol is TCP in internet traffic, TCP or HTTPS, and the TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, and UDP is User Data, I forget what it was, data or something protocol, I'm sorry.
Datagram,
Datagram protocol.
Yeah, datagram, thank you. And yeah, so all the packets are transferred through these protocols over in the network. Access point is something that is used to connect to the network, like an Ethernet port or Wi-Fi router. And a firewall is used to control like incoming and outgoing network traffic based on like preset rules that you can set on your computer. Any definitions I'm missing? Anyone want to add something? Okay, cool. This week's lab and assignment is, for the lab, you're going to be using Wireshark and some basic command line tools to, so those basic command line tools can be used to like get network information, but you're mainly going to be using Wireshark for packet intercepting, which is also called packet sniffing and analysis. And the assignment is to set up your own honeypot. Okay, I guess I can also explain what a honeypot is. A honeypot's like a decoy application or a server or some sort of network resource that intentionally exposes its own vulnerabilities or insecurities. And when the attacker attacks those vulnerabilities or insecurities, you can get more information about the attacker, like what methods they used, what tools they used, or even in some cases the identity of the attacker. I think that's all I have for week 9. Yeah. Anyone would like to add something?
Oh, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like these slides. I like that you put them I like how you put them together. It's also, for me personally, as a non-technical person, it's like amazing that you guys all understand what it's like you're speaking a foreign language to me, to be honest. But it's really cool. I'm learning a lot. Thanks for sharing. So it's next to Shashank.
Sorry, but that's all I have.
Can I
Okay.
add one thing real quick?
Yes, please.
I think it's interesting to note that if you're ever going to sniff traffic or ever do like reconnaissance on network traffic, that you can't, like you see that switch that you've got there on your datagram, you can't just plug into the switch and see all the traffic that's going on to it. You usually have to install some sort of man-in-the-middle hardware.
Okay.
You can make these or install these if you want to listen into another device. It used to be back in the days when you had Ethernet hubs, you could just plug into the hub and hear everything that was going on the hub. But nowadays you have to have a special little, it's like a wire splice is essentially what it is, that goes in between your connection so that you can hear that traffic. Otherwise you can only hear the traffic on your own device.
Thank you. I didn't know that. That image I just got of Wikipedia. Didn't really go over it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Daniel. So Shashank, do you mind just adding that slide into the presentation decks Google Drive?
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool, and then it'll be shared with everyone.
Cool.
Okay, so we're gonna put you guys to breakout rooms to tackle the last lab. I'm gonna put you in the same breakout rooms. I just changed one of the rooms around, and then is Mariah, I'm putting you in with the bigger group so you can just kind of verbally participate. And we'll be back here about, I think today we should end a little bit early just because it's the last week. I know you guys are in finals, so maybe let's come back by 2:30 and then we'll just do a quick debrief wrap up, and then I will let you guys go and hopefully see you soon because I'm really gonna actually miss you guys, even though, you know, I'm glad to get my Saturdays back. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Ubuntu Zenile 16.04. And I was just wondering if anyone else has had any luck with that OS.
I think, was it Ubuntu 16 or 14? I thought it said 14 on the assignment page.
Yeah, it says they all work with it.
Okay.
It's saying that 16 and 17 won't work, but from what I was reading online, you can still get it to run on 16.
Yeah, not sure. Oh, also that reminds me now, like I didn't do it like this week because I already have it up from like the assignment last semester. But I think with those instructions, there's an issue, like some bug with MHM or something where it will never capture malware. I know I ran into that. Like it will still show you some like logs, but it won't capture anything. I think it's a bug with the setup script MHN gives.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Or errors during the lab assignment?
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for all the time you've put in. Seriously, you guys have been phenomenal. Every Monday when we have our team meeting, I always brag about how exciting it is to work with you guys. And I'm really looking forward to having a phenomenal year, I guess, semester. Again, I'm available, reachable. We have the Facebook group, ask questions, share resources. The last slide on the presentation deck I shared today is kind of like your checklist. So just make sure to go through the different items, make sure to take the survey, fill out the organizer dashboard, make sure you are very familiar with the updated course policies. Let me know if you have any questions, and then mark your calendars for our kickoff session, January 6th. if you will probably be getting emails from Karen and Pat reminding you to do some of these things. They're just friendly reminders, but yeah, if you do them sooner than later, we'd really appreciate it. We can start making some additions to the course. I really love getting to know you guys. I hope you have a wonderful winter break, however you celebrate it. And I will see you guys January 6th.
All right.
Let me know if you have any questions. Email me. Otherwise, take care.
Thanks so much.
Sian, this
Have a
is
great break.
Mohammed.
All right,
Sian,
thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to know about the iOS security course. Like, when will be the next time it will be offered? If, what if we are interested in enrolling into the course? Like, how do we go by?
Yeah, so iOS is now being offered at CUNY next semester, but in the fall it should be offered, fall 2018.
Or fall
So you
2018?
guys, yeah,
So
so
even
you guys
as a graduate student, you can still take it, or?
no, you have to be enrolled in the well, yeah, if you're a graduate student, okay, but you have to be enrolled in the university.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
I had a question about the spring kickoff, the January 6th. So it says there's, is that also like a training session, or how's it going to be different from any of these sessions?
It's going to be a training session. We're not going to really cover technical content. People can come share if they have, but it will mostly be on setting up your session for the semester. I'm going to share the semester overview, like the schedule, what's happening each week, any cool announcements from Facebook, things like that we'll share. We're going to be organizing a couple fireside chats next semester, kind of like the one you have with Jay and with Ben. So we'll be planning those out with you. And then we'll basically be doing some lesson planning. So with your fellow TPMs, you'll actually sit and go through some session material, and then we'll share some final facilitator tips and tricks.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
I had one last question. I was talking about it with Mariah. In regards to what's left in regards to the weeks, are we completing all the way to week 12 as the TPM and the CTFs?
Give me 1 second. Let me just double check I don't want to give you the wrong answer. You're going up to, so I don't think there's a week 12 CTFs, but there's a week 10 lab. That is going to be due basically by January 12th. That's in the training schedule. But for this week, basically it's everything up to week 9. That's due by next Friday, but we're going to give an extension till the 30th.
Okay. Well, I see up to week 12. That's, I don't know if because I have TA access or something. I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have, so CTFs I think are only 4 weeks or 5.
I didn't mean CTF. I meant completing all the assignments up to week 12.
Oh, I see, okay.
So week 11 and week 12 is a CTF for just the students. We don't participate in that.
Okay, that clarifies things.
Thanks. Cool. If there's nothing else, I will see you guys in January. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.